Ford Fiesta ST and Ford Focus ST. In this video, we're going to be looking at the engine bays. We're going to be comparing engine components and the engines. It's going to be a ton of fun. So this is our 1.6 EcoBoost engine in the Fiesta ST, and this is the 2.0 EcoBoost engine in the Focus ST. And let's start off by looking at the intake manifolds. Now, if you look right here, this is the intake manifold. And to me, it's a 4-to-1, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course 1. And if you look at these are called runners, and they're short, and then they go down there where they connect, and it's made out of plastic. So let's look at the one on the Fiesta. And this is the Fiesta ST's intake manifold. It's made out of plastic as well. But if you look at it, it's more of a plenum style intake. And the runners, which are underneath, are a lot smaller. They're a lot shorter, and they're actually integrated into the plenum. And definitely a smaller design and different from the Focus ST. Now, when we look at the actual engine, we're going to talk about the cylinder head, and this is where the Focus ST is so different. The cylinder head actually has an exhaust manifold designed into the head. It's part of the head, which is really, really neat. That means that the turbo actually just mounts up to the head, and it's designed to reduce like thermal stuff as far as heat. It's also designed to help with spool and torque. So it's a very interesting design because the head was literally designed for the turbo application, which is really neat. Now, the Fiesta ST head is a traditional style head, meaning that you have your 4 exhaust ports, and then you have your log manifold, your log exhaust manifold. And then this exhaust manifold, goes into a turbocharger, the smaller turbocharger. Both of them use a Borg-Warner turbocharger, but it's really interesting because the Fiesta ST uses a traditional head with the 4 exhaust ports that connect to the log manifold, which connect to the exhaust. Very different from the Focus ST. Now, the intake on our Focus ST is definitely not stock anymore, and this is how it used to look. But when we look at the Fiesta STs, the design isn't that much different, especially since I took one apart here recently. You have this intake right here, which the Focus shares something similar. It's not the same, but it's a similar design. Of course, one of the main differences between the intakes is that this uses a panel filter, and from the factory, the Focus ST uses a cone filter or cone style filter, which is different, definitely different. But the intake pipes are actually interesting because this portion of it is very, very similar. This one right here, the placement of it, the design and everything. And of course, this part is different, but as far as the intakes go, they're definitely different intakes. Our oil caps look the same. The way that the coil packs are set up, they look the same. And of course, everything to the left side, the way that it's mounted, as far as the motor mounts and everything, looks the same. And then you have your coolant reservoir, and the placement is the same on the Fiesta ST, and the design looks very similar. As you see this line and everything right here. The Fiesta is similar as well, and then you have your line right here. So definitely similar configurations as far as some of the extra components. Of course, where the battery is placed, the battery's right here, and the battery on the Focus ST is over there. And then you have a fuse panel here. And when we come over here, we have our battery. It's underneath a cover. Of course, this is more electrical stuff, and some of our stuff behind here is the stuff for the brake master cylinder and the clutch master cylinder. And both of the fronts look the same with the honeycomb grills. With the Fiesta, when you look inside it, you could see the radiator support beam right there. And then underneath here is the intercooler. But with the Focus ST, it's a more complicated design. You have this plastic piece that's in front of it. And then inside here where you could barely see the radiator intercooler, there's actually like a vent that opens and closes depending on temperatures. And this is the opening for the intercooler. And the Fiesta intercooler opening is more pronounced. You could see it. It's definitely more open, and you can actually see the intercooler more clearly. And when you look at the Focus ST, it's not as open as far as the venting and the bumper, and the intercooler's set back more. Now, both cars come with sound suppressors, and they're actually placed in the same position. The only difference is the one for the Fiesta is way smaller than the one from the Focus ST, but they are placed in the same position. A couple of differences with the Fiesta, which I like, is your AC lines are definitely easy to get to. You know, we have one right here, and then our ABS module is tucked in to the left back there. And when we look at the Focus ST, we have our AC line right here. Now, when we look at the cooling fans, the position and design are similar and they share the same design. As you can see, you have the left side of the radiator right here with the fan and in the shroud, and then you come over here and you have the fan as well, and in the shroud is pretty similar. And it looks like our starters are also in the same position, because you could see mine right here because the sound supposer has been deleted on my Focus ST. And when you look over at the Fiesta ST, here's the sound supposer, and I can see the starter from underneath it. And the transmission stuff is also very similar if you look at over here. Now, a difference that you're gonna see between models is this emission stuff right here. After 2016, they had 2 pipes and they made it quite complicated. And this was for emissions. This is an earlier model, 2013, so we don't see a lot of that emission piping right around the engine bay. So that's definitely one of the main different things. Now, something interesting about the Fiesta ST engine and the Focus ST engine is that this is, of course, 1.6 liters, and that's a 2.0 liter, but based on their size, they produce the same amount of power, meaning if this was 2 liters, it would match literally the size and power output of the Focus ST, which is really interesting as far as they're producing the same amount of power per liter and they're matching with that. Now, something interesting about these cars is whenever you work on them, you usually have to remove the headlights, and both of them have similar style headlights, and both headlights come out pretty easy, and both headlights are usually required when you remove the bumper or you do certain modifications. So when it comes to the engine bay and the headlights, they're kind of part of the process whenever you're working on things, and they're pretty easy to remove. Now, this is a difference. The alternator on the Fiesta ST sits right here, almost on top of the engine assembly next to the intake manifold. And on the Focus ST, it's all the way in the bottom underneath the intake manifold. So definitely a different position for that engine component. And the hood latch, they're different. This one's for the Ford Fiesta ST, and this one's for the Focus. And that is the differences between the Focus ST engine and the Fiesta ST engine. This is our first comparison video of many to come for the channel. I'm super excited because like I'm a kid again, because I'm over here looking at stuff, comparing stuff. This is a ton of fun. Make sure you check out our playlist for both cars. We have a bunch of videos, DIY maintenance for both of these cars, and we're gonna be doing more comparison videos. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. You guys take care, and we'll see you soon.